Okay, in this lesson, we're going to talk just briefly about function notation. So we generally use the letters F, G, and H to name functions. So we can write a function such as y equals negative 2x minus 7 using function notation as f of x equals negative 2x minus 7. You could also do, let me just scroll down here, g of x equals negative 2x minus 7, or something like h of x equals negative 2x minus 7. Basically here the f of x, the g of x, or h of x is just replacing the familiar y. So up until the point where we dealt with functions, we always saw stuff like, y equals 3x minus 1. Well, now we're just changing this y and we're saying, well, f of x equals 3x minus 1. Okay, so here's another example of that. We have y equals 3x plus 8, and we change y into f of x. Okay, and this is still equal to 3x plus 8. So when we talk about function notation, think about these three different parts. We have f, which is the name. We have x, which is going to be your domain value. And then we have f of x, which is the range value y for the domain value x. Okay? So remember what a domain is. The domain is a set of permissible values that x can take on. Remember what the range is. That's the set of permissible values that y can take on, or f of x can take on. Okay, so also we want to recall that a function can be thought of as an input-output machine. So basically we input a value for x and we get f of x, or a value for the function. Okay, so that's very important. So we're not going to work a whole lot more with functions in Algebra 1, but moving forward when we get into Algebra 2 and College Algebra, we're going to work a lot with functions. So it's really important to kind of get the basics down of this function notation. So in this basic example here, we have f of x equals negative 2x minus 7. Okay, f of x equals negative 2x minus 7. So if x equals 2, what is the value for the function? Well, we've done this before. Remember when we had y equals negative 2x minus 7, we said evaluate this for x equals 2. Well, we just plug a 2 in for x, and we'll have y equals negative 2 times 2 minus 7. Then we'll have y equals negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, and negative 4 minus 7 is negative 11. But there's a special way that we notate this when we have a function. So I have here, we can denote x equals 2 as f of 2. So basically the way we would write this, our function is f of x equals negative 2x minus 7. Let me just scroll down and write that. And if we want to know the function's value, if x equals 2, the way we do that is we write f of 2 equals negative 2x minus 7. So we want to know what is the function's value. Okay, what is the function's value when x is equal to 2? Okay, when we have a specific, again, this goes back to the definitions, domain value of 2. So I plug a 2 in here, as I did before, and I'm going to get f of 2, which is going to be equal to negative 11, right? Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 7 is negative 11. So this would be the proper notation to find out what is the function's value, again, if x equals 2. Okay, so now we have f of x equals negative 2x minus 7, same as before. But now we want to know what f of 3 is. So f of 3 is telling me, what is this function's value if I plug a 3 in for x? So I plug a 3 in here. F of 3 is equal to negative 2, plug a 3 in for x, so times 3, minus 7. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, so we'll have f of 3 equals negative 6 minus 7. And negative 6 minus 7 is negative 13. So f of 3 is equal to negative 13. So this function has a value of negative 13 when the domain value is 3. Okay, what about f of x equals negative 2x minus 7? And we want f of 0. So again, f of 0 just means that I plug a 0 in for x. So negative 2 times 0 minus 7. Negative 2 times 0 is just 0. So f of 0 is equal to negative 7. Okay, so again, this function has a value of -7 when we have a domain value of 0. And it's just plugging in, so it's really, really simple. Okay, what about f of -5 here? So f of -5 just means I'm plugging in a -5 for x. So -2 times -5 is 10, and 10 minus 7 is 3. So f of -5 is equal to 3. So basically the bottom line is whatever I put in the parentheses here, I want to plug that in for x in my function and get a value. Okay, it's just that simple. Okay, let's do another quick example here. For the following functions, we want to find f of 0, f of -1, f of 2, and f of -3. So we have f of x equals 9x plus 7. So what's f of 0? Let's start with that. F of 0. Well, it just means I'm plugging a 0 in for x, so I have 9 times 0 plus 7. 9 times 0 is 0, so f of 0 equals 7. What about f of -1? F of -1 would be equal to 9 times, plug a -1 in for x, plus 7. 9 times -1 is -9, plus 7. And then -9 plus 7 is -2, so f of -1 is equal to -2. Okay, what about f of 2? F of 2 will be equal to 9 times 2 plus 7. 9 times 2 is, of course, 18, and 18 plus 7 is 25. So f of 2 will be 25. Okay, and then we also want to do f of -3. So that would be equal to 9 times -3 plus 7. So 9 times -3 is -27. So f of -3 will be equal to -27 plus 7. And so -27 plus 7 is -20. So f of -3 is -20. Okay, we have one last function here. And it's a little bit more complicated. F of x is equal to -3x squared minus 5. So again, we want to find f of 0. We'll start with that. So f of 0 would be equal to -3 times, we're plugging in a 0 for x, squaring that, minus 5. So 0 squared is 0. 0 times -3 is 0. So we just have 0 minus 5. And of course, that's just going to be -5. Okay, we also want to find f of -1. So I'm plugging in a -1 for x there. And remember to use parentheses when you plug in, especially when you're dealing with exponents. That's going to make a difference, right? If I blow the parentheses here, I'm not going to get the right sign for my answer, right? If I do no parentheses here, we're going to end up with -1 times -3, and that would be wrong, right? That would end up giving me 3, whereas what I need is -3 is my answer, right? Because -1 inside of parentheses squared is going to give me 1, and then 1 times -3 is -3. So this is -3 minus 5, and that's going to give me -8. Okay, we also want to do f of 2. So f of 2 would be equal to -3 times 2 squared minus 5. 2 squared is 4. 4 times -3 is -12, so this would be -12 minus 5 here. And -12 minus 5 is -17, so f of 2 here would be -17. Okay, then finally we want f of -3. So we would have -3 times this -3 squared here, minus 5. -3 squared would be +9. Remember the parentheses. We have -3 times that, minus 5. So -3 times 9 is -27, then minus 5. And then finally, -27 minus 5 is going to give us -32. So basically when you're dealing with function notation, especially for an Algebra 1 course, you need to know that when you see, let's say, f of 2, you're going to plug a 2 in for x and then just evaluate. Find the function's value. Or if you see f of 0, plug a 0 in for x. It's really just that simple.